when a little boy is made King of Austria in order to lead a far-right coalition, what does it tell us about global politics and the relationship between the nation-state and the worldwide economy? Is the world falling apart? Let's do some Trews.
This is the face of the future of Austrian politics. At just 31 years of age, Sebastian Kurz is on track to become the country's next chancellor.
Who's this? King of Austria. He's a bloody little boy. I'm not having that. He looks like Harry Styles.
Less than a decade ago, he headed up the party's youth wing, and he became Europe's youngest foreign minister at just 26. Earlier this year, he seized the leadership of the Austrian People's Party, the OVP.
Who's next King of England? Ed Sheeran? What's going on? Austria, like the rest of the world, is lunging to the far right. Now you can say, of course, thankfully in the political landscape there are movements, contrary movements, like populist politicians with leftist ideas, like notably in sort of Spain and in America and the UK. But this is a bit worrying, isn't it? Austria's far right is on course to take a place in the country's government after a strong showing in Sunday's parliamentary elections. Luckily, Austria's got no history of far-right politicians ever emerging out of there.
A country in the European Union can only function if it decides itself who has the right to immigrate and who doesn't.
It's very interesting, isn't it, that it is again determined by this idea of migration. I think, and let me go out on a limb here, that the problem is that the nation-state is a bureaucratic and economic construction. The nation-state, there haven't always been nations. Cavemen weren't French cavemen, were they? They weren't Dutch cavemen and Irish cavemen and American cavemen. Everyone was just, well, I'm just a bloke who lives in a cave, or a woman who lives in a cave. Had no idea of country. It's a construct, isn't it? Like a day of the week or a month. It's just a thing. Just going, this bit of land here is Austria. And if you don't agree, we're going to kill you. So, if that idea starts causing massive problems, like it is everywhere in the whole wide world, it's causing problems, nationality, we're going to have to, I think, have a serious look at it.
His youth and energy are proving to be vote winners, as is his promise to defend Austrian sovereignty.
There's nothing new and modern about the idea of nationalism. It's a sort of a very atavistic, tribal idea, whilst the nation-state itself, as I've been saying, is a relatively modern construction. The idea of having inside groups and out groups is about as ancient an idea as you could possibly be propagating. And as usual, this surge of nationalism is being fueled by condemnation and persecution of the other. Let's have a look at this. Both the OVP, that's his one, and the FPO, that's the far-right version, have called for a tightening of Austria's borders and quick deportations of rejected asylum seekers. But the problem is, of course, that the global migration crisis is being caused by capitalism. It's being caused by the displacement of people. It's being caused by economic ideas that are being perpetuated by the continual condemnation. So this is cyclical. You can't end migration just by not letting people go somewhere. You have to go to the root of the problem. Why are these people being displaced? And you will discover that when you analyse the root of the problem, that it challenges the economic interests of the powerful. So instead of ever telling that story, you continually tell the story of, it's a bit bloody annoying, isn't it? People with slightly different accents and different types of clothes have moved in, and they're the problem. Why are these people moving about? Where have they come from?
Sebastian Kurz is the leader of the Conservative Popular Party. He supports banning full Muslim veils and reducing immigrants' benefits. Veils that cover women's faces have been illegal since October the 1st.
Can't start making people's clothes illegal. It's a ridiculous thing. Why are you wearing those clothes? Oh, I just like them. Carry on. Why are you wearing those clothes? Religious reasons. Get them off! Very weird sort of thing, isn't it? It's an odd persecution. Now, like, if you substitute the word Muslim for the word Jew, then what you've got is a recreation of one of the worst blights civilization has ever known. Like, if we'd had mass media at the point of the beginning of the persecution of Jewish people in Nazi Germany, these are the sort of things you would see coming out. Yeah, we're reducing benefits to Jewish people. Yeah, Jewish people ain't allowed to wear their gear. Oh, they're not allowed to worship. Yeah, we're just going to put a little mark on shops that are run by Jewish people. This is it. You can't allow religious and racial intolerance to be administrated for. It is the beginning of the end.
Sebastian Kurz's popularity is in part thanks to his pragmatic repackaging of far-right ideas. The Freedom Party has campaigned on populist issues like wealth inequality and combating smoking bans. But at heart, its message remains profoundly xenophobic and anti-Muslim.
No, Islam is not part of Austria, my dear friends. We want to prevent the Islamisation of Austria, and we will achieve that.
This is a very interesting time, isn't it? Like that there is a essential Austria. We can't have this happen to Austria. What is Austria really? What is any country really? What really holds it together? Most countries, I think you will find, are held together in the interests of economic and corporate elites. These economic and corporate elites do not respect national boundaries in the way that you and I do. By which I mean is they don't identify with it. Look at deregulated global trade. It moves with total freedom. If capital can move with total freedom, you will need a worker class to move with similar freedom to meet the needs that the free moving capital creates. Those are not my words. Well, actually they are, but I think I nicked them from somewhere. Listen to how clever it sounded. You can't have this sort of politics presented as a solution to the problem of our age. It is merely an amplification of the causes of the problem. These people that turn up with mugs of beer remind you of anybody? These are never the solution. Unless people talk genuinely from a position of love and compassion, they're going to make matters worse. Look at Donald Trump, he's making matters worse. Look at Nigel Farage, he made matters worse. Look at this guy, I don't even know his name yet, but he's wearing a weird buttony tunic thing, as if to say, I'm really Austrian, where's your buttony tunic?
As Austrians await the election results, for many, the question is less about whether their country will swing to the right, but by how much.
So these are times of interesting social shifts. These are times that do require radical change and radical action. But this form of conservatism, it's not radical, it's just an amplification of something that's happening subliminally anyway. The malignment and condemnation of already marginalised groups. So the results will come in for this election later in the week, but whatever the results of this particular election are, this is a further moment in this ongoing trend where people reach out for conservative ideas because the problems of globalisation are meaning that ordinary working people are finding themselves competing for resources and, as usual, blame other people like them that don't have power instead of recognising this very, very simple problem. If you don't have enough power, look at where power is, and that's what you have to challenge. So it's always a corporate and economic elite, it's always global conglomerations, it's always rich and powerful financial institutions. It's not people shuffling about in a market somewhere, shivering and huddled in an asylum centre. That is never, ever, ever the problem. And anyone who ever tells you that that is definitely evil. Write it down somewhere so you don't forget, because you've clearly forgotten from one notable occasion in the past. Some true news and a true history lesson. Subscribe here.